Hey, how's it going?
We are back with a vlog after we skipped last week.
We have started doing a Saturday morning game that makes vlogs harder to do.
Yeah, that's why when they do show up on Saturday, which we still try to do, they show up late in the day.
Yeah.
Because we were gaming till like 3, and then we have to go eat and stuff so we don't pass out.
Yeah, and usually, like last night we had a show, so we were up till like 2:30, 3.
Yeah.
But we are here with a vlog to answer your questions about things.
We are. So, our first question is kind of involved. These are all kind of involved today, actually. There's an NPC I'm considering for a future game. It's a Scion of Mictlantecuhtli. At hero level, he'd be a divine messenger boy. At demigod, he'd upgrade to delivery boy. And at god level, he'd go about trying to break away from the Aztlanti altogether. The thing is, though, he's not going to transfer to another pantheon. Just leave his old one. In your opinion, is that a good idea? In what way is it or not?
Well, I don't know what... Leaving your pantheon, probably in general not a good idea, because, like, you're a resource for them, and if you're not helping them, you're hurting them, kind of, and they, like...
Yeah, it's a really, really big deal.
When people bring these ideas up, even at Hero, people think of, like, similar things, like talking back to their parents. They can just kill you. Like, you're really... And this is an NPC, so it's fine. When people say it for PCs, like, you're really pushing into the storyteller for the storyteller not to just say, okay, well, then you're dead. Like, you have no chance of living, you're dead. And that's so like breaking away from Pantheon or like, you know, switching Pantheon, any of that kind of stuff is very, or even like talking back to these people. It's such a bad idea.
Like the Pantheon has you because they needed you as a resource for things, usually fighting the Titans, but it could be anything. And so when you leave, you're literally from their point of view stealing from them.
Yeah,
they put all this
resources
into
and energy
you, and you're just taking those and saying fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a whole pantheon that you're leaving, like, there's a good chance they will just kill you because, A, you're being a dick as far as they're concerned, and B, they don't want you to go after somebody else that they don't want to have that power. You know, they don't want you to go join a different pantheon that they don't like. Doesn't apply in this case, but they also don't want you to go off and get corrupted by a Titan, and then they have to actually deal with you on their enemy side. And, you know, it's from their point of view, there's nothing good about you leaving unless you do something so bad they don't want you anymore. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to mean they would rather kill you than
just
get rid
kill
of you
you.
anyway.
Like, yeah, there's no reason to keep you alive, but it's an NPC, right? So you're writing a story. I don't usually look at NPCs that far in advance because so much of their growth is going to be dependent on what the PCs do. Yeah. Like, otherwise, there's no point in having an NPC. Like, they should be interacting with the PCs in the immediate realm. Like, planning so far off in advance. So much stuff could happen. This character could not make it. The PCs could change how he looked at life in one way or the other.
PCs could even kill him. They have killed NPCs that we intended to live before.
Yeah. So I think when you ask, is this a good idea? I think planning that far ahead is probably good. I mean, if that's the bare bones only planning you're doing for it and saying like maybe this will happen, that's fine. Like
Yeah.
But I don't think people just break off from pantheons with no qualms.
And another thing is that I mean, even if by some miracle, your pantheon doesn't care that you leave, your chances of dying go up astronomically because you don't have a pantheon that has your back now if another pantheon decides to get on you, if your mortal enemy decides to get on you, if a Titan decides to get on you. There is nobody to back you up. And you may be planning for this guy to have the PCs to back him up or whatever, but when you don't have a pantheon, there's no safety net. And these are really high-stakes dangers that you're dealing with as a god. You kind of need a safety net. That's why the pantheons are all working together. Because even as a whole pantheon, they need a safety net. And then you're going to go out there just by yourself and have nobody that helps you out. You're in a lot of danger. And I don't know what your reasoning is for him wanting to break away from the Aztlanti, but it had better be fucking fantastic if he has the need to completely leave instead of finding a way to work within them.
Yeah, I mean, not only all of the Aztlanti virtues are very
That's true.
oriented.
Yeah, when you have loyalty and duty, like, it is really hard to break away.
So that's our answer for that.
Yeah.
Next question.
Alright, second question. I know this is a very general question, but how do gods treat Scions? Do they view them as children in the dark? Do some of them consider them adults? Do they just need a nudge? I know they wouldn't treat them as equals, probably because of the power disparity.
It's such a general question. Like, there's a great difference based on the god, but I mean, generally, probably like flies or like...
They're like slightly above humans. And gods are not don't care a lot about humans.
Right.
Like, even the ones that have virtues that say, well, you know, valor, I care about humans dying. It's sort of like, you know, you are to them an investment. You're a thing that they created to do a job for them. And so, for some of them, that's going to be all you are. Some of them might have some feelings towards you, but you're, like, barely a person, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you entertain them or, like, are family. They might have some sort of interaction with you, but I think generally, it's, you're a tool, especially a hero. I mean,
and you're so not powerful that like they don't even really need to think about you most of the time unless you're failing at your job, and there's a really great chance you're going to die before you ever become powerful enough for them to care about you. There are of course differences for some gods. Like there may be a specific god who actually likes you a lot, or you might have somebody who just is a giving personality like Wan Yin. But there are not a lot of those, and it's always going to depend on what your Scion does and how you know your parent. And most of the time, they don't care. Your job is to be out there to be cannon fodder. And that's how most of them will treat you.
Next question.
I'm not sure if you've explained this before, but how do badass star level relics work? What does a single star represent? Can uber talented crafter PCs make them if they're high enough legend?
Cool. So star relics should represent like a top tier mythical relics that are like myths almost onto themselves, or like just so amazingly powerful.
They got to be objects that are famous themselves. Like Thor's hammer is always the good example, because not only do people know who Thor is, they know that he has a famous hammer and they know what its name is. That's a star level relic. What star levels usually do is I give them, each star is worth kind of like 5 dots ish, but they're usually special powers that I wouldn't put on normal dots. Like it's a special like 5-dot power, like a giant thing, and then they have the previous many dots of powers too. So by the time you get to like 1 star, 2 star, they're just ginormous dumps of power. Crafters, I feel like when we were talking about when we were building the artistry review, we said almost making a star level relic should almost be something that you can only do with the avatar. You have to blow the creator to make a star level relic. Yeah,
blow the creator, and probably have, with the use of it, like Fate would put, like, very special circumstances involved as well. Like, they're the things of myths, like.
Yeah, you have to go do something, like, you have to forge something in the fires of whatever, or, take the materials of something like, building something out of the body of a slain titan, that kind of thing. So it's not going to be just, I'm going to go to my workshop and come back out with a star relic.
Right.
But you can make them. It's just you need to be a top-level god and be a god of making stuff.
Yeah, god of making stuff. And then you can make stuff.
You do it. And that's why there's not a lot of them running around, because they're hard to make and they're super, super valuable commodities.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 gods probably have one. You should look for.
Yeah. Alrighty. As a storyteller, I'm having some trouble coming up with events tied to Scion's fateful auras that don't involve some kind of Titan spawn or combat. What are some examples of non-combat events your fateful auras could attract? Is there a good way to tie fateful auras to the hero's story arc without them feeling like random encounters?
Well, normal, like, random encounter fateful auras, that's going to happen. And, I mean, the fateful aura, unplanned fateful auras, like, will probably show themselves in just the realm of monsters. Because the story type stuff with all kinds of other things, that's a fateful aura that you're going to be writing. That's the story part of the game. The random encounter parts from fateful aura, that can happen, but that should just be something that, just kind of happens. Like, they're sitting in camp and a Nemean boar appears. Like,
yeah, it's
actually kind of
actually
drawn here.
Yeah, you don't need to be afraid of random encounters. You want to do them constantly so everyone gets bored. But a couple of random encounters, maybe one in the game, that's pretty normal hero fare. They're not. That's not a bad idea as long as you don't overuse it. And the whole thing about, because you as the storyteller are writing the story, you're writing a story in which crazy stuff happens to them, and they are the most important characters, and people come to them, and that's all examples of the fateful aura in action.
Yeah. So most of the stuff you've pre-written for fateful aura about, like, maybe they're doing some research, or they're studying or traveling or figuring out rituals and then performing rituals. Like, that's all the kind of fateful aura stuff that is still part of fateful aura. It's still stuff that is just happening because these people are legendary, and it is probably becoming more difficult because they're legendary, more intricate, but you've pre-written all that. So that can still be there, it's just pre-written. It's not new and random as they're going around.
Yeah, it's stuff like they find certain objects or materials that, there's like a 1 in a million chance, but they stumble over it. Or they go across, like, the scenes of a previous crime, and they just happen to be in the right place at the right time to find out what's going on with that. Or they are involved in running for political office, even if they didn't mean to. Or, there's a million ways to be like, something important is happening, so they're involved, because they're the PCs.
Yeah. I mean, or even non-pre-written stuff, and you don't want to overuse any of these too much, but, like, if they're traveling, maybe on a subway car, the subway car breaks. And it's because they were there. You know, it's like they don't need to never know that, but things will tend to be more exciting and be more happening around them. Give them more chances to save people, do things, follow their virtues, fight their virtues.
Yeah. Or this is the 1 in a million chance they get in a cab and Angelina Jolie's in the cab. Because that's the kind of, like, that's a very small, low-level example. But, like, you know, that's not going to happen to the average person. But because they're faithful or that happened.
They happen to be going downtown when there's a parade. Or the one night at the theater, you know, a star has come to reprise their role. Or, you know, someone they idolize. Or stuff like that. You can feel free to, when they're part of events, to let those events go to into level.
Yeah, because, I mean, the whole point of Faithful Lore is that they're not in a realistic story. There's not going to be a lot of downtime. There's not time when things aren't happening. Stuff's going to be coincidental. That's what Faithful Lore does. So, as long as you don't get to the point where your players don't believe in your story anymore, you can kind of run the coincidence train all you want to.
All right, next question.
Alrighty. I understand you might be cutting back on the war purview to focus on the war aspect rather than the lone warrior aspect. If you do end up doing that, what would happen to boons like Reestrad?
So we kind of mentioned that, although we didn't say it all like that. We just said war. Somebody said war. I don't remember, but war needs to be more commandery.
Yeah, I think somebody was complaining that war didn't have enough fighty boons. They were like, you know,
I want more fighty boons at the top levels.
Yeah, I take war so I can kill things, and we were saying war isn't really for you to kill things; it's for you to control wars and affect war things.
And so that solo warrior ideal, that's not what it should be. It should be the war boons that affect yourself. Should be you becoming, in a war scenario, like an agent of war.
Yeah.
Like.
And that can have combat applications. Like the level 3 warrior ideal is a great example. Because it really only helps you. It gives you bonuses to not getting hurt. But what it does is say, I'm taking on the aspect of a certain kind of warrior. I'm becoming part of the wars of myth, kind of. And that's a nice thematic way of doing that. Most of the other ones that are involved commanding wars are because that's what you do in a war purview. You know, there's not going to be a lot of stuff that is just about, I want to deal damage. That's what knacks are for.
Yes. So, were we to take some more single combat stuff out of war, it would probably go to next.
Yeah. And I mean,
we don't know what we're going to do. Like,
we haven't done it.
We have no plan for anything, but if they were taken out, they would probably either go to Nax or be deleted, but probably Nax. And like I talked before when I talked about Nax, I'm looking for more damage type stuff to put into strength and have more flashy stuff there. So again, strength is where you should be going for these kinds of things.
Yeah, if you want to go for, I want to be the best at killing people, that's an attribute thing. It's not a purview thing. There's no purview of killing stuff. Some purviews do damage things, and that's fine.
But all or most purviews should have a flavor of being able to kill things.
Right, but they all, you know, have...
But
they should focus on the idea. They should focus on the
core, yeah.
So in the case of war, that's actually wars, battles, tactics, not necessarily just punching. Because you could punch stuff and not go anywhere near a war.
Yeah.
And we don't want to create a lot of war boons that people use without ever actually being war gods, because that would be stupid.
Yeah, you don't want war boons where like, oh, I use only war boons when I fight one guy.
Yeah, and we don't want everybody to feel like they have to buy war if they want to be a combat fighter, because not all war gods are combat fighters. Like, you know, they usually do okay, but they're not, you know, guys like Thor don't have war and they still win, and they should. Right,
exactly. That's the important. They should.
Yeah.
So, good question. Next question.
Alrighty. When you create new hero level Scions, do you require relic birthrights to have a unique name or just a description?
Usually a hero just description. People generally come up with names if they want to at hero, but it's usually more at demigod or god when their relics get a little more flavorful too. They really have chosen a road and they know who they are.
Yeah, what we usually see for heroes is that they have something real small and basic, like I have a sword, I have a flashlight, I have a keychain. Something that gives them access to their powers but isn't really a major thing on its own, and it shouldn't be, because these are all going to be like 1 and 2 dot relics. They're not really that important. It's all about just bolstering the Scion. It's when they get to demigod that they start to get relics that are actually big enough, important enough that you care about them, that they start to be interesting in their own right. Which doesn't mean we don't want you to make interesting things as a hero, but it's not always going to be as much of a big deal. But at demigod, usually they upgrade. That's when, if you look at our character sheets and you see relics that have names, that's usually when they got names. Because they became like 5 dot relics at the upgrade that actually became part of that character's image. And as heroes, you don't really know what your image is yet. You just started, so.
Cool.
Pretty simple, yeah. Last one. What are the rules for having a creature that is both the creature birthright and the guide birthright? Is that an inefficient use of points?
I don't know if it's inefficient use of points, but I wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, that's just not a thing you do. Those are two different birthrights.
Yeah, they're different birthrights for a reason. So a creature is something that you regenerate and is kind of part of you. They're something below you. You are its
belonging to
master.
you.
A guide is someone above you that gives information and help down.
Or at least in a different area than you. They are not something you own. They just help you.
Yeah, not necessarily above you in power or legend level, but above you in
They have access to something you don't.
Yeah.
So a creature, the point of having a creature is it's going to fight for you, or it's going to carry you around, or it's going to in some way be
It could
with
even
you.
be smart and like teach you things, like but it's not going to be your guide. It's not going to be guiding you because you are its master, and so those are inverse relationships.
You can't go to your creature and be like, "Help me out. I need some secret arcane knowledge about politics among the Egyptian gods." It's been with you the whole time. It doesn't know anything you don't know.
Right. Any more than I go to my cat and ask it what to feed myself.
Yeah. I mean, we still love the cat. But she's not going to have that stuff. What you need is somebody that is, like, you could say, well, Ptah is my guide. That would be a pretty expensive guide. But then that is a guy that you can call and be like, I need guidance, and they can point you in the right direction. Your creature can't really point you anywhere. He's going to go wherever you tell him to go. That's his job.
Yeah, you can't have, like, someone who you are in control of have, like, freedom of thought like that to that degree, and that kind of knowledge.
I mean, they have free will, but they're always, in the end, their loyalty is to you, and they'll do what you want. So they don't really have the capability to try to steer you. You have to steer them.
Yeah.
You can have both different birthrights, but you couldn't have both be the same guy.
The same guy, yeah.
Because that really wouldn't make any sense.
Wouldn't make any sense. So, don't do it.
Yeah. Our suggestion is don't do it. We don't have any guidelines for points because we would never do it.
Yeah.
And that's all we have for questions today.
Great! We did questions. We did a vlog.
We did do a vlog.
You're welcome,
Good job,
everyone.
us. Hooray.
On Wednesday, we move houses.
Yeah, so that's going to happen. And then the next vlog is going to be in a new mysterious location.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
See you guys later.